Tulloch retrospective, 1952 to 2014. So this year we're celebrating our 120th birthday. Tulloch was started by my great-grandfather in 1895, and here we are 120 years later in 2015. We've had the honour of looking at some fabulous wines today to celebrate this with our retrospective tasting 1952 to 2014. Nick Graham, what did you think of the wines?
It's been a great day. It's been a really fantastic day. We've seen some terrific Semillon, but I guess we expected to see that coming in today. We saw some really surprising Chardonnay, a fantastic Chardonnay bracket, and then we saw incredibly conclusive evidence that Hunter Shiraz is probably the most age-worthy style of red wine made anywhere in this country. We've seen some staggeringly beautiful old wines, back to the 50s, back to the 52. Private Bin, a wine that reduced some grown men to the verge of tears in here today.
That 52 is just extraordinary. It hasn't changed since it was first poured. It's in suspended animation and is just as delicious as it was when we first tasted it. Quite extraordinary.
And that's a wine I've mentioned a couple of times today. A wine made in a winery that didn't even have electricity. Almost jumping back to a whole other world when we look at wines like that. We saw some lovely wines from the 60s, and I guess perhaps most encouragingly, I know this is a 125th birthday celebration, it's a retrospective, a time to look back, but in a way there's also a glimpse into the future here today, and with a current vintage that we've seen, some of the best wines we saw today came from 2011. My highest point at Semillon was 2011. The 2011 Hector Shiraz is an absolute highlight as well. So it's a retrospective, it's a chance to look back into the great history of Tulloch, but it's also a chance to see where where the future starts as well. And we've seen some wines here that bode incredibly well for the future and point to very fruitful and bountiful and exciting days for the Tulloch family and those of us who get to invite along to drink those wines.
Of course, Dad headed up the panel, followed by his best mate, Patrick Gould, who joined the company in 1974. He was the winemaker at Tulloch up until the 90s, when the brand was sold, and he moved to Cumulus Estate, but he's still our family's bestest friend and still really part of our family.
I'd just like to say this has been a great day, to be able to look at wines that are 52 through to 2014. It's been a great privilege, and I've always, obviously, I spent most of my time in the Hunter at Tulloch's, and they were great years. And I've always said to Jay that when he was in charge, or when he was in the charge of the family in charge of it, it worked well. And this is a great example of what we're seeing. And can I just say, whatever you're doing at the moment with your wines of recent vintages, just keep doing it, because they're absolutely outstanding. Whether you look at the Chardonnays, the Semillons, the Hectors, or the Private Bin Reds that we've been fortunate enough to look at today, the Tulloch future of the brand and the family are in great hands. And congratulations and thank you. And let's not wait 50 years, let's have another tasting in 5 years, because I think it'd be really good to see how some of these younger wines are going, because I think they're going to keep going and getting better and better.
To my left here we had Hugh Hook, who of course we all know is a very significant wine media figure here in Sydney and Australia, and he was certainly really excited about looking at these lineup of wines. He's been in this scene for a long time, so he has seen a lot of these wines through the years, so I think that's pretty exciting.
It's not every day you get invited to a birthday party like this, and it's like being at kindergarten with all the cupcakes and hundreds and thousands, but here we've got wonderful wines from a spread of 60 odd years, and there are wines here that are older than me, which I don't often get to see these days, and some of them are looking in better condition than I am, I think. But wow, there were some wonderful wines there, and 87, they're talking about the Hectors now, the 87, 05, 09, 11 and 14 were standouts for me. And I think 11 turned out to be a great vintage everywhere. 14 I think will be the vintage that everybody will want to buy in the near future. It's a great vintage. But having been someone who's been in the industry for quite a while, I've seen the first incarnation of Tulloch's probably in the mid-70s, and then through all the changes that happened in the late 70s and 80s, and to see it now back on form in great family hands and being being steered in the right direction is really something to see, and I'm very pleased to be involved in this retrospective today. It's been a great privilege.
Then we had Sarah Lamarca and Paul Beaton next to her, two sommeliers. Paul Beaton, the sommelier for Aria, who has some of our museum wines on the list, and they seem to go really well, so it was great to have him here today. Down the end, Liz Jackson, who is the current winemaker at First Creek Wines, who my dad works very closely with in making our wines at the moment.
I guess firstly what a privilege today has been to see older wines and from such a great house really, and that's what I see Tulloch's is, and we see how difficult maybe some of the vintages were, but what's been really lovely is to hear some lovely things about the young and current wines, and I do hope to be here in 50 years, and I would hope that maybe one day I might get an invite back to have a look at them, because I think the old wines speak volumes of the hunter, and I guess happy birthday to Tulloch's and well done for 120 years. Thank you.
Some chap in an old jacket and fuzzy hair was next to her. That'd be Nick Ryan.
That would be me.
Yeah, look, it was great to have Nick along so we could really put the boot in about South Australia and how awesome
Yeah, the
hunter
token
is.
South Australian who has to come and say nice things about the hunter under sufferance.
Yes, I'm holding a knife to him behind his back. Then we had two really exciting up-and-comers from the Hunter sitting in over there. Annabelle, who works with Liz at First Creek, and Damien from Heart and Hunter, who did work at First Creek and helped with our winemaking along the years. Then we had Todd Slater from Five Way Cellars. Yeah, anybody who likes to drink good booze in Sydney knows Todd Slater. I think Dad had a pretty specific idea about what kind of a panel he wanted to put together for this particular tasting. It was as important to him to have people who really knew about the history of Tulloch and some of these amazing wines as it was to have some of the younger Hunter Valley generation involved, because he understands that they are the next generation, and that if they can have a look at what we did in the 50s and 60s and 70s with these wines, they'll have a real insight in what we're trying to do moving forward as well.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for all coming along, as I've said before, and I'd like to thank you for your very kind remarks you've just made. But for me, I've had these old wines sitting in we're going back to the old ones now, sitting in my cellar. They've been moved around from 3 or 4 houses, not in the best conditions, and I must say I was fairly sceptical about what some of them were going to be like. But and it's an emotional thing to see that they've now been opened, they've been looked at, and now they're gone, and some of those we'll never see again. It's emotional on one hand. On the other hand, it's great to see these younger wines opening up so well, and I'm very proud to be the head of the clan, I suppose you'd say, at the present time. And I'd particularly like to thank people like Pat and Liz and so forth for going from one stage to the next stage, and on we go from here. And I hope to hell that it all goes on successfully from here. And with 7 grandchildren, I hope they eventually get involved in it, some of them at any rate. And the name goes on 120 years. Let's go for 220 years. So thank you very much.